financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is when you are abused as to your financial rights. Welcome, Attorney Sylvia Bolos, our special guest, consumer protection rights expert.
Good morning.
We haven't had a guest on the show in a while, Sylvia, so this is going to be a special occasion. Let me introduce the crew. Brian Small, good morning.
Good morning, Ken.
Jeffrey Linden.
Morning, Ken. Welcome, Sylvia.
Good morning.
Sylvia, good to have you. All right, so Sylvia, let me start off. I know you're a partner with the Consumer Justice Law Firm, and even more importantly, you are a Wayne State University Law School grad, which is obviously and known to be the best, finest law school in Michigan, other than perhaps University of Michigan.
Right.
Go Blue.
And is very favorable to me because I'm a Wayne State grad. Okay. So that means that you're ultra qualified.
Great. Yeah, love it.
So I understand you actually served as general counsel as 123net, senior counsel at Berger Montage, and the firm that I know is you were also at Linclip and Associates.
That's right.
Which I know they do the same type of work.
That's all they did.
Okay. So how did you get into this?
I kind of fell into it. I was an accountant for the Department of Defense, did law school at night, and started kind of looking around, and I met Ian Linclip, and it just kind of went from there. He told me all about the space, and I loved it.
So wait, so you're you did your undergrad in accounting?
Yeah.
And you worked with the United States Department of Defense?
Yes.
Wow. That would be a really difficult, interesting job nowadays, wouldn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, if the debits and the credits don't work the way we want them to, then we will do a financial statement that says this. Otherwise, you're out of a job.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
New system of accounting.
That's right.
All right, so give us an idea. What kind of cases do you handle? What is consumer protection rights? What is the audience that's watching? What do we want them to know if they're a victim or if they of this type of abuse?
Well,
what are
better
the
question.
abuses?
What is the abuse, and
Then how do we solve
how do we solve it?
Right. So consumer protection is actually a very broad term. It's a major umbrella. I work on a subset of those types of violations. Primarily, the Fair Credit Reporting Act is the statute we rely on the most. There are a number of other statutes. We also delve into the Electronic Funds Transfer Act violations, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. That's a little less popular nowadays. So it's pretty broad, the term consumer protection. But what I primarily do is Fair Credit Reporting Act violations. So in a nutshell, if something's inaccurate on your credit report, it's likely a violation. And it could be a different type of credit report. So a background check would count. Tenant screening report, if you apply for an apartment or to rent a home on Zillow, there's going to be a report issued about the consumer. It can contain inaccuracies. And then, of course, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, if you apply for credit, if you apply for a mortgage, an auto loan.
So let's take a tenant applicant. A person's
Sure.
applying for a lease, and they apply, and then the landlord says, "I'm sorry, we're not going to rent the apartment to you because of the report we received." Is it
Right.
a credit report or actually a tenant report? Or?
It's a credit report. Those all follow. Well, technically, the term is a consumer report.
So then the person, the tenant, should ask for a copy of the report.
Yes.
And he looks at the report and says, "This is not right.
That's right.
It says that I have a charge off from Macy's from 2022, and I never owed them any money."
That's right.
So then what happens?
So the
So they
consumer-
call you. We
Right.
send them to
They
Sylvia.
call me, and then we help them dispute. So step one is to dispute with the consumer reporting agency. Let them know, hey, this is erroneous. This either doesn't belong to me entirely, which does happen, or you're reporting the status inaccurately. This was mine, but it was never a charge-off. I was paid and in good standing. Here are all of my statements. They dispute, the CRA has 30 days to fix it, and if they don't, you have a violation under for the dispute.
CRA is
The credit reporting agency.
okay, so like
consumer reporting
Equifax,
agency.
TransUnion.
Yes.
So is it usually all three of them have the same error or not necessarily?
Not necessarily, and so in the tenant screening space, there's actually always going to be a separate entity in the middle. It won't directly be Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion. They would have likely supplied the credit information, and it would usually be one of the three, and they would have sold it to a background check company. So First Advantage.
So is that the company that you end up going after?
That's right.
So 30 days go by. How do they usually correct the things, or are they usually inept and they don't correct?
It's, in my experience, been the latter. But I don't always have insight into consumers that dispute on their own and have it corrected. I wouldn't know what the metric is there. I would just know about the consumers that come through us and the percentage of disputes that we help them file and how many of them end up with a claim.
So how do you help somebody if they think something's wrong, but in terms of my experience with our consumer clients, they never have all the records. They never
Right.
go all that far back. They're
Yeah.
not good record keepers at all. So how do you help people in that situation?
We help them get the records. So you can always request a copy of your background check, whether it's a tenant screening or if it was for employment. If you know the entity that issued the data, you can request a copy. And if you don't know the entity, you can go back to either the employer or the housing complex, and you can just explain, I think there was a mistake, I don't have the records. Would you please mind telling me who it is you use or who it is you used in this year so that I can go get a copy? And even if they don't know any of that, we then help them request a copy from all of the entities that we know of.
So I guess there's two buckets. You could have, I applied for a lease and I was denied, so now I have that aspect of damage and problem. I could also apply for a lease and still get the apartment, but I request a copy of the report, and the report comes back and it says that even though I got approved, it has inaccurate information. Are both of those claims that can be brought?
Yes, you can still bring the claim even if you get what you applied for, but obviously your damages are largely mitigated at that
Okay.
point.
Let's take a break, then we'll kind of focus on damages and focus on other claims.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
So we only have one last question for you. If your son passes away before you, do you want his share to go to his kids or your new daughter-in-law?
Talk about inheritance.
Yeah, sweetie, and I'm gonna spend it all on you.
The kids.
You've worked hard your whole life to create a lasting legacy for your heirs. Let Samasco Law help you make the right decisions to protect the ones you love. Samasco Law, protecting what means most, because that's what we do.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
So what other types of claims? So you got the tenant.
Right.
What else could happen?
So Brian's here. We have post-BK claims where the bankruptcy's been fully handled and the credit reporting agencies are failing to report the status of those accounts accurately.
I get calls like that all the time. It says I'm still behind. Didn't I discharge this debt on my?
It says on the report
bankruptcy?
that you filed a bankruptcy, but you're still behind.
No, that's the thing. It doesn't say. It'll show that they're still behind. It doesn't show that the debt was discharged.
Right.
And so we go through the dispute resolution process with the clients, and most of the time that gets fixed.
Yes.
But doesn't always get fixed.
Right. Yeah, they've been dinged for that violation a bunch. So most of the big guys have scrubs built into their systems, but they're not super, I mean, it's not a daily scrub. It's like at best case 6 months, and they'll go back and run through everything and find these kind of like, oh, we're not doing this right. And if you do dispute and you show them these bankruptcy records, 9 times out of 10, they will correct that, but not always. The other types of violations we see a lot is a living person being reported dead. We see that a lot. Either the creditor, Comenity, reports them as dead, or TransUnion has information that suggests they're dead, but it's not accurate.
So you apply for credit, you're
Yeah.
denied because you're not living.
You're denied.
Do you get a denial letter that says we cannot approve your credit report because our information indicates you're not living?
Yes, that is more or less what it says. What's worse is it sort of suggests we think you're committing fraud because clearly you are alive, but you're using a dead person's identifiers.
Oh, so it's insulting
Yes.
on top of the whole
Yes.
thing. So what does that person then calls you?
That person calls us a lot of times, even when we get the information corrected, whatever it is they applied for, especially if it was a job or housing, they will still be denied because those entities, even when they get the corrected report, don't get the explanation, oh, we screwed up. They just get a corrected report and they think the consumer somehow massaged the data. And so they don't have anything to do with that consumer at that point. They're just suspect.
So that kind of claim then ends up in a lawsuit.
Yes.
Is that a federal
Yes.
federal lawsuit?
Yes.
And then what kind of damages are you entitled to?
So you're entitled to actual damages, you're entitled to statutory damages, you're entitled to punitive damages if you can show reckless disregard, and then attorney's fees and costs are covered. It's a fee shifting statute. So the other
there's
side
no
has to pay
cost-
that bill.
It's no cost to the client. When a client engages you, they don't have to pay anything?
No.
Okay. And costs, and then you recover costs. So yeah, if you then are denied the credit you're seeking, you clearly have a damage claim.
Right.
And if it goes to the insulting state of insinuating that you're committing fraud and there's punitive damages,
Right.
that claim could even be more lucrative.
It can be more lucrative, and then there are other claims.
What about identity theft?
Identity theft is a big space. I saw it yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw it. The FBI for the state of Michigan said that there's a spike, and now it's something like $250 million in identity theft in the last 12 months in Michigan alone.
This is interesting because somebody I know who does insurance, trucking insurance, she had somebody applying for a policy, gave a copy of the driver's license. It was an Illinois driver's license, and the various states have different security measures. So it was this woman's picture, and what she didn't realize is there's a microtext underneath the photograph, and the name on the microtext is from the Illinois state driver's license sample.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's a man.
Yeah, we see that a lot. Identity theft is a big area. And then mixed files where the credit reporting agencies actually confuse two or more people and they report information of the other. This is really bad in the criminal records space. So I had a client, just a mother of 5 kids, wanted to go back into the workforce, and they reported that she had been 5 times convicted of felony prostitution.
And she completely wrong person.
Completely wrong person.
That is outrageous.
I find that
So in
I
that
see a lot
case-
with the father and the son when they have the same name.
Yep.
You know, junior,
Or
senior. That.
Yeah,
or
that's
second,
closer,
third.
but still there are a lot of other indicators.
So in that scenario, when they do that, if you then do they still get 30 days to correct if you notify them, or do they have liability regardless?
They still have 30 days to correct for the dispute violation, but they still have liability regardless for the unreasonable procedures that led to them confusing 2 people. Obviously, the case is stronger when they confuse a man and a woman, which we see a lot, or people of different races, despite the fact that there's usually ID involved with an employment application.
So if their confusion amounts to negligence, then the claim becomes stronger.
Right.
So, how about an identity theft? Okay, which is something that can happen to anybody, anytime, and you then are aware of it. You then follow that procedure with the FTC where you file
Yes.
your report, and then you're looking at your credit report and you identify the things that are wrong, and you notify the credit bureaus to correct. And they don't in the 30 days.
Right.
Is that then actionable?
Yes, of course. So identity theft can be tricky because they more or less want to shift the burden to the consumer to track down this identity thief.
Yeah.
They're not going to know who this person is. So as long as they file either a police report or the FTC identity theft report and submit that with their dispute, if the accounts are not removed, then the consumer does have a right to sue them to have that information removed from their credit file.
Would that be the kind of case that you guys would take?
Yes, we absolutely take tons of those cases.
Because that's got to happen all the time.
All the
'Cause
time.
they can't. There's got to be such a volume of those that it would be difficult for the credit reporting agencies to react within the 30 days.
Well, they always handle a dispute within 30 days. It's rare to actually catch them not doing that.
They just
The
don't
question
handle it right?
is whether that investigation was reasonable or not. And in my experience, it's almost never reasonable.
So what would be reasonable? Where they clean the report and correct it, or where they...
It wouldn't necessarily, I mean, yes, that would be ideal if they just remove the information. But if they do anything more than just read the letter and disregard it. But a lot of times they throw the letters away.
Let's take a break. We'll come back right on that.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
If your daughter passes away before you, do you want her share to go to her kids, or do you want to go to your new son-in-law?
You didn't have to buy me a Ferrari.
Don't worry, baby. There's plenty more where that came from.
The kids. You've worked hard your whole life to create a lasting legacy for your heirs. Let Samasco Law help you make the right decisions to protect the ones you love. Samasco Law, protecting what means most, because that's what we do.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Time for announcements. I want to announce THAV GROSS has opened a new office downriver in the Horizon building on Eureka Road. So now we're in Flint, downriver, and also our home office in Bingham Farms. Remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. You can do it by Zoom conference, in the office, any way that works best for you. Just call 888-235-HELP or go to the website, thavgross.com, to sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business law issues, elder law issues with Pat or Kelsey, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner. Again, sign up at lawandreality.com or thavgross.com or just call 888-235-HELP. Also, if you go to the website, you'll see there's free reports. Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions by Jeff Linden and myself. Bankruptcy, Is It Right for Me by Brian Small. How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure. Business Formations, Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan. And The Retiree's Guide to Social Security by Pat Samasco. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Samasco Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
All right, we're back. So this is fascinating to me. What about background check problems?
Right. So it's a lot of the same inaccurate information. Either somebody else's information, they're being reported as dead, they're being told their social security number is not verifiable. These people can't get a job, they can't get housing. If they can't get the job, they can't keep the housing they're in. And a lot of times they're applying for housing and they're leaving their prior place.
And it's all because there's misinformation on their credit reports.
Right. These are people for housing that have their security deposit, they have all of their ducks in a row, and there's nothing they can do if somebody publishes this information before they even see it and it's inaccurate. And if it's for a job, it's the same. They're qualified for the job. They just can't get it because somebody said they're a felon when they're not.
So here's a question. Most people understand that you can look at your credit reports, and obviously you're entitled to a free credit report once a year. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't strike me that the information on a background check is something that's available readily. I mean, I can go on my TransUnion and pull that easily. Yeah. How do I find out what my background check says?
Right. That's a great question.
Before I apply for the job?
Yeah, you can't really. I mean, you could, I suppose, send a disclosure request to something like 200 agencies.
That do background checks.
And ask them, hey, what information do you have on me? But here's the thing. They don't keep a living database. Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion do, which is why you're entitled to get that report every year. They're actually tracking data on you every single day. These background check companies are not. The most that you'll get from them if you submit that disclosure request is a copy of any report they have previously sold about you. But every time they get a request for a background check, they are creating a file for you anew.
So there isn't one place you go to get the background check. There's different companies, and company A may be accurate and company B might think that you're somebody else.
Exactly. And for all those companies, if they're going to the source and the source has the inaccurate information, they're going to create a background check with inaccurate information.
Well, and it's hard because, like, if you go to, like what used to be Accurate, now LexisNexis, which is a source a lot of people use to do asset searches, criminal background checks, voter records and stuff. Some of those places, small criminal courts and things, they're not digital, they're not online. It requires somebody to go pull records and make charts and there's a lot of space and detail that doesn't get sent that
So-
can get messed up.
Step one is if you get denied, you need to ask the party that denied you to provide you a copy of the report. If
Yes.
they refuse to provide that copy of the report, is that
They're required to give you a copy of
Do
the
they
report.
typically do that?
Yes.
Or- okay.
Yeah.
So
But they'll do it in ways that consumers maybe won't expect. For example, most of them are now doing it by email. And a lot of consumers have multiple emails, and maybe one is kind of like a junk drawer. So they're not really paying that much attention. Or it goes into a spam filter, so they don't even realize, oh, I did receive a copy of this report somewhere. They just get the denial letter. But most of them would have received something. Usually it's a pre-adverse action letter. It's a letter that tells them, hey, this entity is about to publish information about you that could be considered derogatory. You should take a look. But most consumers don't receive the notice.
So how does the case end up to you? The person's been denied the job, been denied the credit, and so forth. Then are they calling you at that point, and you then saying to them, did you get a copy of the background check, or do they already usually have gotten that and then calling you?
So usually, no, they haven't typically already gotten it. If they're working in the gig economy, so like Uber drivers and Lyft drivers, they're typically able to access it through their dashboard. They tend to walk in the door and say, checker sold something about me and I don't think it's right. But somebody applying to like the Home Depot or Walmart, they're not necessarily always going to have the report in hand, but we're so familiar with at least some of these very big players. We already know what background check companies they use. We can help them track it down.
So I know we've spent a lot of time on this. I want to get onto the debt collection harassment before we run out of time, because I have people calling me all the time saying, hey, they just won't leave me alone, calling me 20, 50, 100 times a day. And it's not unusual for that to happen. How does the consumer deal with that, and what should they be doing?
Right. So the Fair Debt, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act space, I mean, there are definitely consumers that are getting harassed. The entire point in the statute is to prevent that harassment. They should let the caller know, hey, stop calling me. Even if it's their debt, they're entitled to say, I don't have this money now. You need to stop calling me. And that entity should engage in a ceasefire, typically about 90 days. They'll stand down. They are entitled to credit report it if it's yours. They are entitled to call you and contact you, mail you information trying to collect if the debt is valid. If the debt is not valid, for example, it's an identity theft debt, they have no rights to call, they have no rights to
And
credit
they have
report
limitations
it.
on when they can call too.
That's right, yeah. So we see that a lot with especially the identity theft space. Those consumers become very, very upset, obviously, and in some cases that's when they find out that they're a victim.
So bottom line, if you are in that situation, which is a common one, there are remedies. And the way, call the firm, call us at our same old number, 800-235-HELP, and we'll put you in touch with Sylvia and her firm, and we can pursue that. Sylvia, we're going to have you back on the show. There's like 17,000 more questions I have, and I'm sure these guys have just as many, so we can flush through it. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.